In the year 1784, the Count of Saint-Germain was declared dead, but that was only the beginning, because for many decades afterward, he continued to appear at aristocratic parties, in the secret files of European courts, and even in the diaries of witnesses who stubbornly insisted they had met him. A human being, ageless, without homeland, without biography, without a grave, and no one knows in who he really was. This is the portrait of the most mysterious man in Europe. A man whom history buried, yet history itself hesitantly admits. It seems he never actually left. In 1784, at the castle of Eckernförde in Schleswig-Holstein, Germany, a man closed his eyes forever. A death certificate was issued. The funeral took place on the 2nd of March. Everything appeared perfectly ordinary, one death among countless others in human history. But that was not the end. It was only the beginning of one of the greatest mysteries Europe has ever witnessed. Because for many decades after that death, this man continued to appear at lavish parties of the French aristocracy, in the secret archives of European courts, in the diaries of witnesses who insisted they had met him, looking exactly the same as before, without a single wrinkle, without a single gray hair. This is the story of the Count of Saint-Germain, a human being without age, without homeland, without biography, without a grave, and no one knows who he really was. In 1743, high society in London was suddenly shaken by the arrival of a strange figure. He introduced himself as the Count of Saint-Germain, appearing as if from nowhere. No one knew where he came from, who his parents were, or how he possessed such extraordinary talents. In a letter to a friend, the writer Horace Walpole, 4th Earl of Orford, described this encounter with a tone half admiring, half skeptical. They have just arrested a strange man who calls himself the Count of Saint-Germain. He has been here 2 years and will not tell who he is or whence he comes, but professes that he does not go by his real name. He sings, plays the violin wonderfully, composes, is mad, and not very sensible. Yet behind Walpole's mocking words lay an undeniable truth. Saint-Germain was creating a sensation across European society. The strangest thing about Saint-Germain was not his talents, it was that he had no past. In an age when lineage, genealogy, and social rank were everything, the fact that a man with no clear background was welcomed into the most powerful palaces of Europe was unimaginable. Saint-Germain spoke nearly every European language fluently: French, English, German, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian. He was also familiar with Chinese, Latin, Arabic, ancient Greek, and even Sanskrit. He played the violin like a virtuoso, composed music that could move listeners to tears, knew history as if he had lived through every event, and understood science like a seasoned scholar. But there was something even stranger. No one ever saw him age. In 1760, in Paris, a small incident marked the beginning of the legend of Saint-Germain's immortality. Countess von Georgy, then 70 years old, heard that a Count of Saint-Germain was attending a party at the residence of Madame de Pompadour, the powerful mistress of King Louis XV. She was curious because in 1710 she had known a Count of Saint-Germain in Venice. When she met him again, the Countess could not believe her eyes. The man standing before her looked exactly the same as 50 years earlier. Not a wrinkle, not a gray hair. "Forgive me, but this is impossible," she exclaimed. "The Count of Saint-Germain I knew was at least 45 years old." Saint-Germain smiled, his eyes deep and knowing. "No, madam. It was I who lived in Venice at the end of the last century and the beginning of this one. I had the honor of serving you then." The answer explained nothing. Instead, it only thickened the veil of mystery surrounding him. Extraordinary talents. Saint-Germain was not merely a diplomat or musician. He was also a gifted painter, an outstanding chemist, and rumored to be a master alchemist. It was said he could repair cracks in diamonds, turn semi-precious stones into perfect emeralds and rubies, create strange alloys and dyes never seen before. Some even claimed he had turned lead into gold before their eyes. One witness was the Marquis de Valbel. He recounted visiting Saint-Germain's laboratory and watching the Count take a 6-franc silver coin, coat it with a black substance, heat it over a small flame. To the Marquis's astonishment, the coin gradually changed color until it became pure, shining gold. But the most astonishing thing was not these chemical wonders. It was that no one ever saw him eat or drink. If his artistic and alchemical talents made him famous, it was his secret diplomatic activities that made him truly powerful. During the 1740s to 1750s, Saint-Germain appeared and vanished like a ghost among the courts of Europe. France, England, Prussia, Russia. He became the trusted right hand of King Louis XV, carrying out ultra-secret missions that even the highest ministers knew nothing about. During the 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763, Saint-Germain played a crucial role in secret peace negotiations. In 1760, he almost succeeded in signing a peace treaty with Britain that could have ended the war 3 years early, 1763, but the plot was discovered and thwarted by the Duc de Choiseul, France's Minister of War and Foreign Affairs. Why did kings trust a man without proven lineage? This is the question that baffled many. Why did Louis XV trust a man without noble lineage or official title more than his own great ministers? The answer may lie in Saint-Germain's encyclopedic knowledge and uncanny ability to read people and politics. He understood European power games perfectly, moved effortlessly between factions, and, most importantly, had no personal ambition. Saint-Germain never sought power. He never asked for rewards. He simply appeared, offered counsel, and disappeared. This made him the ideal advisor, incorruptible and unthreatenable. A network of power across Europe. The list of Saint-Germain's acquaintances reads like an encyclopedia of 18th century power. King Louis XV of France, his patron who used him for the most secret missions, Madame de Pompadour, the king's powerful mistress and Saint-Germain's close friend Catherine the Great of Russia. Saint-Germain is said to have helped orchestrate the coup that brought her to the throne in the 1762. Voltaire, the great philosopher, who called him the man who knows everything and who never dies. Giacomo Casanova, the famous seducer who recorded many meetings with him in his memoirs, Prince Charles of Hesse-Kassel, who became Saint-Germain's closest friend in his final years. Secret archives show Saint-Germain present at the most critical negotiations, yet his name never appeared officially. He was the invisible third man, pulling strings behind historic events without leaving fingerprints. Wherever Saint-Germain went, he set up elaborate laboratories. At the Château de Chambord, granted to him by Louis XV, he spent most of his time in a room filled with flasks, furnaces, and strange instruments. Rumor had it he was searching for the legendary philosopher's stone, the alchemical substance said to turn base metals into gold and grant eternal life. Witnesses to alchemical miracles. Many recorded what they saw. The Marquis de Valbel saw a silver coin turned into gold. Casanova, though skeptical, wrote in his memoirs, "This extraordinary man said quite naturally and self-confidently that he was 300 years old, that he knew the secret of the universal medicine, that he had control over nature, could melt diamonds. All this, he said, was a mere trifle to him." Madame de Pompadour received flawless diamonds from Saint-Germain that he claimed to have created himself. Today we can explain some of Saint-Germain's miracles scientifically. Advanced metallurgy, chemical polishing of gems. But some things remain inexplicable. Where did his immense wealth come from? He had no bank accounts or recorded estates, yet always wore magnificent clothes, diamonds, and gave priceless gifts. And above all, Did he really discover the elixir of life? In 1779, Saint-Germain visited Prince Charles of Hesse Castle in Schleswig-Holstein, Germany. The prince, a passionate occult enthusiast and member of secret societies such as the Bavarian Illuminati, became his closest friend. Prince Charles gave Saint-Germain an abandoned factory in Eckernförde for his alchemical experiments. The two spent long hours discussing philosophy, mysticism, and the secret sciences. According to Prince Charles's memoirs, Saint-Germain confided that he was the son of Prince Francis II Rákóczi of Transylvania, and that he was 88 years old, placing his birth around 1691. The recorded death on 27 February 1784, the Count of Saint-Germain died at the factory in Eckernförde. Prince Charles, then in Cassel, was informed of his friend's passing. The death was entered in the register of St. Nikolai Church in Eckernförde. The funeral took place on the 2nd of March. He was buried in a private grave. But this is where the story becomes truly strange. Official records describe the deceased Saint-Germain as a poor man with no possessions, completely contradicting the image of the wealthy, diamond-clad figure he had been all his life. No will, no inventory of property, no personal letters. All Saint-Germain left behind were wordless secrets. And the strangest detail, according to some sources, when the grave was opened a few days later, it was empty. No body, no remains, only the silence of death, or of non-death. 1 year after death, in 1785, only 1 year after he was declared dead, Saint-Germain appeared in Germany with Anton Mesmer, the pioneer of hypnotism. Some claimed he taught Mesmer the foundations of animal magnetism. Official Masonic records show that in 1785, the Freemasons chose Saint-Germain as their representative to a convention, 1 year after he had died. 1789, encounter. During the French Revolution. After the storming of the Bastille, the Countess d'Adhémar claimed to have had a long conversation with the Count of Saint-Germain, who warned her of France's immediate future, as if he knew everything that would happen. In her memoirs published in 1821, she wrote, "I saw Saint-Germain again, and each time to my inexpressible amazement. I saw him when the Queen was assassinated on the 18th Brumaire, the day following the death of the Duc d'Enghien in January 1815, and on the eve of the murder of the Duc de Berry. The last time was in 1820, 36 years after his death, and he still looked like a man under 45. Around 1820, the English writer Albert Vandam wrote in his memoirs, An Englishman in Paris, about a mysterious man he knew named Major Fraser, whose life was identical to Saint-Germain's. Vandam wrote, "He called himself Major Fraser, lived alone and never spoke of family. Moreover, he spent money like water while the source of his fortune remained a mystery. His knowledge of every country in Europe in every period was marvelous. His memory was astounding, and strangely, he often let it be understood that he had acquired his knowledge otherwise than from books. Many times he told me, with that strange smile, that he was certain he had known Nero, had talked with Dante, etc. Major Fraser later vanished without trace." 20th century final appearances. Between 1880 and 1900, members of the Theosophical Society, including Helena Blavatsky, claimed Saint-Germain was still alive and in contact with them. In the 1970s, a French entertainer named Richard Chanfray publicly claimed to be the Count of Saint-Germain and reportedly turned lead into gold on live television. He committed suicide in Saint-Tropez in 1983, but rumors persisted that no body was found, only a farewell letter. True identity, the three main theories theory. 1. Hungarian prince, Rákóczi lineage. The most common theory is that he was the son of Prince Francis II Rákóczi of Transylvania. Prince Charles of Hesse Castle claims Saint-Germain confided this to him. If true, he may have been born around 1691 in Sarospatak Castle, Hungary, hidden for political reasons, and raised by the Medici family in Italy. Theory 2. Wandering alchemist from the Middle Ages. Some believe Saint-Germain was an alchemist who had lived for centuries thanks to the elixir of life, and that he personally witnessed events he described. Conversations with Dante, meetings with Nero, travels to ancient Egypt. Some even identify him with historical figures such as Christopher Columbus, Francis Bacon, or Roger Bacon. Theory 3. Ascended Master. Occult entity. Many esoteric organizations regard Saint-Germain as an ascended master who transcended human limitations and continues to appear to guide humanity at critical moments in history. Helena Blavatsky called him the greatest Oriental adept Europe has seen in the last centuries. No birth certificate, no will, no private letters, no diary, nothing personal in an age when everything was recorded. Did someone deliberately erase his traces, or did he arrange it himself? Who protected his identity? To maintain such secrecy for decades required protection from the highest powers. Louis XV once declared he would not tolerate mockery of the Count because he was of very high birth. What was his purpose? If he truly lived so long, what was his goal? He never sought political power or public wealth. He simply appeared at turning points in history, advised, and vanished. Perhaps a silent observer ensuring humanity stayed on course. Legacy, an immortal legend. Saint-Germain has inspired countless books, films, and works of popular culture, and remains a central figure in Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, Theosophy, and many modern esoteric groups. The final paradox. Did he really never die, or was it the most elaborate, centuries-long deception in history, a role played by different men across generations? More than 240 years after his recorded death, we are still talking about the Count of Saint-Germain, still arguing, still searching for answers. Perhaps he was not literally immortal. Perhaps he was simply an extraordinary man whose knowledge and charisma made people believe he was. Or perhaps we have only ever seen the names he wanted us to see. In 1897, a Paris police report recorded witnesses who claimed to have met a man calling himself Saint-Germain. Exactly the same, not changed at all. And the most frightening thing, in over 200 years, no one ever noticed a single wrinkle on his face. History records that he died in 1784, but history also records that he kept appearing. Perhaps Saint-Germain is not immortal. Perhaps we are only just beginning to understand who he really was.